Yo, what's good, YouTube? ZAMCRO here, aka Scoot, back with the International Draft Masters, Season 4, Week number 9, and we're taking on the Grand One, coach of his SLC Staraptors. So he's got a pretty scary squad. A little bit weird to me, but I can understand why him and maybe others would like this squad. Definitely got some potent threats. He's got the Celestilla, one of the top 5, top 3 mons in the format. Luckily for me, though, he does not have it as a Z-Move user, and I have Zapdos, so not too big of an issue for me. I have lots of coverage to hit through it as well, including things like Garchomp, which is pretty cool as a Z-Move user. He's got his Latias, very, very potent threat there too, in terms of special offense and special defense, as well as a really solid speed tier, being able to outpace the entirety of my squad outside of the Crobat. He's also got Excadrill and Tyranitar, Mega Tyranitar that is, combining as a really, really nice Sandcore there, provides his team with some Pursuit Trap, and Excadrill with the Sand Rush abilities, pretty fantastic there. He's got Celestilla, which doesn't really mind the Sandstorm being up, and he's got some mons with reliable recovery also that don't really mind sand being up. Thunderous Therian is one of his Z-Move users, very threatening Pokemon there. Especially offensively, very, 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 very potent. Amoonguss, very annoying. I suppose could be a good check to things like Serena and maybe Zapdos, but don't really see it coming, though it could come. Talonflame, huge issue. Despite its nerf, it's a fantastic Z-Move user, fantastic speed tier, fantastic, setup options with Bulk Up and Swords Dance, as well as having Roost for longevity and things like that. Azumarill has really nice, powerful dual stab, as well as priority in Aqua Jet, which is really nice. Chansey's very annoying as well, that thing, plus Amoonguss with things like the Laddie and Celestilla, very, very, very annoying. The Toxicroak, very, very problematic as well, especially to my squad and my speed tiers and things like that. And then he's got the Primpulp. That's an unmon. I don't really expect it. It could come. He's brought it this season before, actually. I don't expect it in this match. So, yeah, that being said about his squad, we can go over ours. We have Mega Mawile, Garchomp, which is our Z captain, Zapdos, Reuniclus, Crobat, Serena, Volcanion, Cofagrigus, Mamoswine, and Hitmonlee. Hitmonlee being our second Z captain. So, pretty fantastic squad. I've had a lot of fun with it on the season thus far. Despite our terrible record that we're going to try to start to rectify in these last 3 weeks, week 9, 10, and 11, and hopefully grab a playoff position. So for this match specifically, we've brought Mega Mawile, the Garchomp, Zapdos, Reuniclus, Volcanion, and the Mamoswine, where we've got a little Trick Room going on here. We've got some Trick Room options with a Mega Mawile, Volcanion, and Mamoswine all operating under Trick Room with basically max HP, max attack, and max special attack for the Volcanion, as well as max attack for the Mamoswine, and basically speed decreasing natures, except for Volcanion, didn't really need one. It's okay to have Volcanion as with a little bit of speed investment. Well, not really investment, but without going with a quiet nature. We've got a modest nature. Didn't need a quiet nature for this matchup. So, yeah, got some nice Trick Room options going on. We've got it's not Z Garchomp to break the Selly. It's basically hoping that the rest of our squad can break the Selly and using Garchomp as a Salic Berry variant. So we've got a sub Swords Dance variant here. Now, I know even with my Salic Berry popped, I don't outspeed things like Excadrill in the sand or like a Choice Scarf Laddie. But if he does bring the Laddie, I don't expect it to be Choice Scarf. And if he brings the Excadrill, we'll just have to play around it, which I do expect. In terms of, speed control there. Anyways, so Mega Mawwall has Play Rough, Thunder Punch, Fire Fang, and Stealth Rock. I do expect him to switch one of his steel types in on me, so I am going to try to get my Stealth Rocks up versus that, and then switch accordingly. And then from there, I can try to predict it. If he shows Selly, then I'll click Thunder Punch next time. If he shows something like Extra Drill or even Amoonguss, then I can just click the Fire Punch the following turn. Fire Punch also hit, or excuse me, Fire Fang does not get Fire Punch for some reason. It can punch Thunder, it can punch Ice, but it cannot punch Fire. I don't get it. But yeah, that's Mega Mawwall. Garchomp, like I said, a Salac Berry variant. Sub Swords Dance with Dual Stab, Dragon Claw, and Earthquake. Zapdos is a Toxic subset with Roost and Thunderbolt. Basically meant to catch things like the Laddie, the Thundy, the Tyranitar upon switch in with a Toxic, and then go from there. And can sub-stall to try to get Toxic to build up and things like that. And I can avoid Spore from Amoonguss with Substitute, which is really nice. Next up we have Reuniclus, which is another mon that can actually avoid Spore, and it avoids Sandstorm damage, which is pretty cool. And I think Leech Seed recovery. I'm not really sure on that one, don't quote me. But with the Overcoat ability, I think it's Powder Move, so I don't think I don't think Leech Seed is actually counted in that. But yeah, I can, with Overcoat, I can avoid Sandstorm damage and being put to sleep with Spore or Sleep Powder or Stun Spore or anything like that, which is pretty cool. Psyshock, Focus Blast, Trick Room, and Recover. So I mentioned this was a Trick Room squad, and we do have to have a Trick Room setter, being the Reuniclus here. So next up we have an Expert Belt, Volcanion, with a Modest Nature like I mentioned earlier, Fire Blast, Steam Eruption, pretty self-explanatory. And then we've got Sludge Wave for the Azu and Hidden Power Ice for the Laddie. Last but not least, we have an Assault Vest, Mamoswine, Max HP, Max Attack with a Brave Nature, Icicle Crash, Earthquake, Ice Shard, and Stone Edge being our last move. Blows through the Talonflame, which is pretty nice. But yeah, that's going to be the squad, and now we can hop into the replay and see what goes on. Alright, so here we are with the replay, and my opponent chooses to bring the Azumarill, Thundurus Therian, Excadrill, Tyranitar, Talonflame, and the Latias. Immediately I notice no Celesteela, no Amoonguss, which is really nice for me. He does bring the Sand, which was pretty much, I can understand why he brought Sand, but at the same time, let's say, how can I word this where it doesn't sound wrong? Bringing Sand and any kind of like Choice Scarf or Agility or Scarfers and I think I already said that. Scarfers, Agility, things like that, and the Sand Rush and Dragoness, Tyranitar, things like that, against a Trick Room team normally doesn't make sense. But when your Sand is based around Mega Tyranitar, a Pokemon that takes care of not one, but both of my Trick Room setters, it's perfectly fine, and I can understand why he brought this squad. Supported with Mega Tyranitar, he can fight my Trick Room really, really well, and he has solid switch-ins to my mons that would abuse Trick Room otherwise, such as Talonflame, Excadrill, and Celesteela switching into things like Mega Mawwall, and things like Laddie or the Azu switching into something like Volcanion. My two biggest breakers on both sides of the spectrum underneath Trick Room. So, yeah, definitely a fantastic squad here. I think he prepped and built really, really well. And immediately I noticed he's got only 2 Stealth Rockers. So, one of his Sand Core has rocks. I know that for a fact. So, I'm going to lead off with Zapdos. I think it leads well versus... his biggest threat to my squad was the Azumarill. And I figured with my Mamoswine lead being pretty obvious, or even a Garchomp lead, his Azu would be a really good lead for him. So I led with my Zapdos here, and I could sub up, but I don't want him to just get rocks up for absolutely no reason without me doing anything, gaining any kind of momentum or whatsoever. So I ultimately decided that I would not click sub on this turn, and instead I'm going to switch out. And he switched first into his Tyranitar, which gives me some valuable information here, is I'm going to sub up and he switches his Azu in. So I know his extra drill without sand being up is faster than my Zapdos. So I know that, and he's switching his Azu here on my Garchomp. He takes the sand damage, and Earthquake does more than half. So I'm going to be able to 2-hit KO him here, and expected him to just switch out or something, because I don't think he'll just let me knock his Azu out without getting much value from it itself. I did decide to sub up again, and he does go into his Thunderous, and I do reveal to be faster, meaning I'm going to be able to get a 2-hit KO with my Dragon Claw, giving us a 6-5 lead a little bit early in the match. So that's really nice. He goes into his Laddie here, and I'm going to hard switch into my Mamo, and he goes straight for the Ice Beam. I'm going to miss an Icicle Crash. So while it looks like he didn't get much damage off, he still dodged an Icicle Crash. Meaning if he is Yachi Berry, I did not get to pop his Yachi Berry, which would open up my Volcanion and my Mawile. Like, I don't have to click Play Rough with Mawile later. I could just click Ice. Excuse me, I don't have Ice Punch, but he doesn't know that. I could click Ice Punch, meaning that he might not be forced into a 50-50 on if I'm going to click Play Rough or not. And then, of course, with Mamoswine, if I'm got this thing chipped later in the game, then Icicle Crash or Ice Shard may not be able to do the job. If he is Yachi Berry. So I just throw off another Icicle Crash here, and he just sacks off his Azumarill, and I actually pick up the knockout, so I'm not sure if that was Thick Fat, probably Huge Power, and he goes into his Extra Drill hard. I'm assuming that means he's faster than an Adamant Mamoswine. At least, his Extra Drill has to be faster than at least an Adamant Mamoswine, or he's a Choice Scarfing. So I go into my Reuniclus here, I eat up the 2 Iron Heads, and I'm able to get off a Trick Room, and I go for the Focus Blast, expecting my opponent to maybe go into the Tyranitar or just stay in. I didn't expect him to switch out there, and he does go into his Talonflame. I bring in my Volcanion as he U-turns out into his Laddie, and now I'm going to bring in my Mega Mawile hard here. I mean hard. And yeah, I'm just going to get my Stealth Rocks up. I didn't want to predict anything there. I didn't want to get the turn wrong, so I just want to get my Rocks up that gave me at least some value out of the turn. And here he goes into his Talon. Well, he didn't. I go into my Mamoswine, and I'm able to throw off an Icicle Crash as he actually throws off a Toxic. And here, predicting him to roost up, to roost up, I click Earthquake, but I did not get that play right, and he's able to roost on the following turn as I do switch out into my Volcanion. Now I've got a pretty free Steam Eruption. Should net a knockout or get damage on the Laddie, in which he has revealed Calm Mind, so I don't want to stay in on this thing. I do get the burn, but I don't think that matters. He did reveal Thunderbolt, so I don't think he's like Earthquake. He's revealed Calm Mind, and he just now revealed Recover as well. So here I go into my Mamoswine, and I go for the Stone Edge, and I miss. So that's really unfortunate for me. And to make sure I get some kind of damage off here, I'm going to go for the Ice Shard, and I'm actually able to pop his Yachi Berry. So he was Yachi. Now, had I landed my Icicle Crash earlier, you seen with the Yachi, it did 20% or something like that. So I would have had him down to like less than half here, closer to 35-40%. But yeah, that's not going to be the case. I bring in my Mega Mawile here. I'm forced to click Play Rough because he has Talonflame in the back. And I didn't have any coverage for the Laddie anyway. Thunder Punch and Fire Fang would not do the job. Here I stay in with my Mega Mawile because Tyranitar, I can't allow Tyranitar to set up, right? I can't, listen to me when I say this. I cannot allow Tyranitar to set up. So I just stay in with my Mega Mawile here. And immediately, I'm tilted. I'm tilted at this point. I go into my Zapdos. My play is to go 100% into my Garchomp and click Earthquake. It gives my opponent the least amount of chances to set up. And here, what do? I go into my Zapdos, I throw off a Toxic, and I miss immediately. It wasn't going to matter, though, because at +1 speed, this thing outpaces my entire squad. And he's able to land the Stone Edge. I thought I was going to force him into landing another Stone Edge, but he actually has Earthquake as well. And now I'm going to try to force him into clicking Earthquake again, but he's actually got the Crunch, and he's able to pick me off as well. And he would have knocked out my Reuniclus with Crunch as well. So that's going to be game. Good game to Grand. He played well. and definitely had a really solid team prep in terms of taking on my offense. Oh, like really, really solid. Wasn't even what I expected either, and that's what makes it cool. In terms of a team together, I did expect some sets here and there, and how he could counter some of my mons and stuff like that. But I definitely expected to see the Selly and potentially the Mungus. But yeah, that's going to be it. Let me know what you guys thought about the prep and the plays on both sides of the field. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.